At some point during your career, you got into a little bit of positions, I guess union positions. It would be the best way to explain it, where you're negotiating with the city. Tell me about how that is? How does that politically dynamics work with negotiating with the city or the mayor here in Boise?
I think a lot of it has to, what got my sparked my interest in joining the union and becoming part of our union leadership was when I came in. I talked about how we lost the airport fire station, and we had a mayor and a city council that didn't like the fire department, really didn't like the fire union, and we were we didn't have a contract when I came in. We were voting
Why
as
wouldn't they like the fire? Why would they like them? Again, getting back to public perception, I always envision you guys can have whatever you want, but that's not the case. Why not?
um, there was first at the time we were underpaid by comparison to other cities of our size and even to our peers throughout the state.
Mm.
And we were behind quite a ways, so that we were looking for a better wage package,
Mm.
and they had other priorities. Public safety wasn't their number one. Um, the mayor at the time had squandered, and the city council. I think that their budgeting process wasn't open and honest, and they just had different priorities than public safety. So the police union was at odds with them as well.
Mm.
Um, it, it sparked my interest because I watched what our mayor and council were doing, and in my view, cities have a few critical core missions, and one is the number one should be public safety.
Yeah.
Keep a really strong police and fire department. Next, make the shit route roll downhill. So, sewer system and parks are nice to have, not a must have. Everything else, beyond public safety and utilities are nice to haves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have great parks, and I'm
Yeah.
glad the city's invest in all that. It makes it a real worthy place to live.
Yeah.
But when budgets get tight, those are the things that should be cut first, not public safety.
Right. Right.
And that mayor and council believed otherwise.
How at some point, because the police were having the same police union was having the same issue that you kind of joined forces with them.
Yeah. Well, city council and the mayor did change out with it, and it was both of our unions got behind candidates that were more public safety friendly.
Mm-hmm.
That was their budget priority, and we helped get them elected. So we changed it out. The one issue was there were with our health insurance, the city was self-insured for health insurance, so they'd pay every claim up to a certain amount, and then reinsurance would kick in. But for the most part, the city was paying 100% of our health insurance, except for those bigger claims, and they were doing this quite successfully. But they were building this balance every year, and it was on the backs of police and fire, because our low utilization, our members are young, healthy, don't need a lot of health care. The general employees were eating up the majority of what was in their trust fund every year. They're budgeting, but they were banking money, and their trust was growing, but they were starting to cry wolf. We can see that this is unsustainable, so we're going to go to a new model. And at the time, that was one benefit that police and fire both loved. I was on the City Health Trust, and my counterpart from the police union, Brian Lee, was on the City's Health Trust. But everybody else in the trust was from management. And every time we'd get an appeal or try and enhance benefits, they'd look at it and they'd make a decision based off of budget only, not on what's best for the people that have to utilize that health insurance. So I went out and looked for an alternative, seeing that this change was coming and they were going to force us into this new cafeteria plan. And I found I put together this team of consultants and advisors that helped us separate. But one of the things they said is, you don't have enough people in the fire department to have your own self-funded trust. You're going to have to team up with the police union. And I love the boys in blue, but we haven't always worked well together.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. How is the relationship?
In Boise, it's really good.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes their union leadership has been out there, they pursuing things that are outside of our interests, but for the most part, we've been on the same page. And at this time, we happen to be on the same page. We had a common need, and we teamed up. And Brian Lee and I spent 2 years putting this plan together, meeting with city councilors, working a system so that they would approve the separation, because it was a big leap for the city to say, here, police and fire, take over your health care.
Yeah.
In fact, we had an HR director who warned the city council, if you give police and fire control of their health insurance, they'll give themselves unlimited massages and all these rich benefits. They'll spend it down to nothing, and then they'll come back on bended knee begging to get back into our system. And there was a couple counselors who took that to heart. But we had Vern Bistefeld, who's one of my favorite ex-cops in Boise. Do you know Vern at all?
No.
There's public safety buildings named after him. He was a lifelong Boise police guy, Ada County commissioner. I mean, he was just a community guy through and through. There's a lot of good stories about Vern. He was just the type of public servant that I wanted to be. Loved the guy. But he was also not PC. He's old school. And I loved it because we couldn't meet with the whole city council. Brian and I would have to give presentations to 2 counselors at a time, so they didn't have a quorum. And it was Vern and one of the other city councilors, one of the female city councilors. And Vern was 100% behind our push for this plan. Best quote I've ever had from a city councilor. We give our presentation, and the female city councilor said, I don't get it. Why are you guys more special than the general employees? And Vern looked at her and said, so-and-so, if you're in the park and you're getting raped, you're not going to call the mayor's secretary, are you? She was shocked. It was
But it makes
beautiful.
sense.
Quieted her down. She's like, yeah, you're right. And then I think the vote for that was unanimous.
Wow.
A lot of time and effort, and Brian and I became healthcare experts, much to our chagrin. And I've been doing it now for 13 years as a trustee, but if you ask anybody, our health insurance is second to none. It's a successful program, and we are pushing both of our populations towards wellness. There wasn't a focus on that before, and now we're setting up our benefits so that our guys. The goal when we started was cradle to grave type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to make sure that our guys were retiring and living long, putting as much hurt on the Percy pension plan as possible. It was not uncommon for guys to walk out of either profession, get into retirement, and then big heart attack, the cancer, because there was no focus on wellness. We're hoping that with the benefits we push now, and that guys are getting tested and they know that they have issues, and we've had clinical saves for heart issues and cancers that we wouldn't have had if we were still on the city's old system.